Well, we've got an interesting conversation here today. It's one of those situations where you hear the news story and you're not quite sure how to react. What do you do? And with that, we've got some advice for you and some opportunities for you to learn. And with that, Therapy Thursdays today, as always, we bring in Jacqueline Rafter from New Insights LLC. Jacqueline, how are you?
I'm good. Hi, Matt.
Hi.
How are you?
Oh, I'm pushing through. We're at a holiday, time of year, and there's a lot of stress
Mhm.
that is, but this is an opportunity for us to take a step back and also reflect on really kind of how lucky we are at the same time, I'd say.
Absolutely.
Yeah. The news story that we talk about, or that I kind of am highlighting in the, I guess, introduction, is one that we bring up with a heavy heart.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that is a tragic situation, and it also I'm just going to say it shouldn't happen.
Mhm.
It's something sad. And with that, it's in regards to the school shooting that happened in Michigan here this week. And with that, Jacqueline, the conversation that I had with my girlfriend, our we were having it out loud, obviously, and for me, it was one of those things that Zayden overheard us talking
Mhm.
about it, and I was kind of like, "Is this something we should be bringing up, and should he hear about?" And you say absolutely
Mhm.
yes. Give me more insight as to that.
All day long. All day long. Kids are brilliant. They know what's going on. They hear it. They see it. And I think the one thing that we don't want to do is pretend like something isn't happening when it is. I think when bad things happen at all, when there's big news headlines and we're talking about it, kids need to have some sort of way to um, know for themselves what they're supposed to do with this information. And so when we talk about kids, we're talking about kids of all ages here. Um, but I don't think that you just don't talk about it. I don't think that you just pretend like everything's okay when everything is not okay. That's the first thing to not do.
Yeah, and I think that's obviously, I would say, a good rule of thumb, really, with anything, any kind of
Mhm.
emotion, is to,
Yep.
not ignore that. And I'll be the first to admit I'm not the most forward emotional guy in the
Mhm.
world, but I definitely am able to kind of state how I feel about certain things. And with that, that might be almost kind of like the first step is take a second to digest what's
Mhm.
happening,
Yeah.
formulate what we think, right?
Yeah, a lot of times when things happen, we internalize it and we really it kind of makes us think about what would I do in that situation? How do I feel? How do I make sure something like that doesn't happen to me in the future? And so it was a lot of times we put ourselves in that position of what has happened. And so I think, even before taking it to our kids, we need to just stop and really put words to what we're feeling in that moment. And if it's scared, let the word be scared. And if it's, I don't know what to do, then just, I don't know what to do. And I'm here to tell you, when you're just honest with a kid and you don't know the answer and you say, I don't know, that's 1,000 times better than making something up because it just is there's a genuineness that the kid knows that they can trust what they're hearing from you. So I think the biggest thing, the first thing to do as the adult is really just stop and decide, what do I think? What do I feel? Am I scared? What are we going to do moving forward? And a lot of times the answer is we're not going to change anything that we're doing. Um, and then really kind of thinking about why are we not going to change anything we're doing? And a lot of times that reason is because we're already doing what we need to be doing.
Yeah, and honestly, from a parent standpoint,
Mhm.
it's such a hard thing to try to decide. Okay, we know what's going on. We know what's happening in this world around us. Now
Mhm.
it's so close to home.
Mhm.
How do we react to that? But we have to take also a step back and recognize that what we're feeling might be very similar, and there may be additional emotions that the child is feeling too
Mhm.
that need to be addressed as well.
Yeah. And I love that you said that, Matt. And I want to just add to that. It might be very similar, but it also might be very, very different from what that child is feeling. And so the second thing I like to encourage people is let the child kind of lead the conversation. Let the child decide how much information they want. Do they need to talk about feelings? Because they might not. They might really just think that's a thing that happens over there and it has nothing to do with me. But if you have a parent that coming in that's really scared, it might create a fear that wasn't there before. So I think if we ask our kids, what do you know? What do you think? What do you feel? And really go from there, and don't tell them what they should think. Don't tell them what they should feel. Just really validate and allow them to think and feel what they actually think and feel, and then go with the what do we want to do about that.
Yeah, and you know, obviously a lot of great information about that too, and not I don't want to say necessarily sugarcoating it, but being very realistic, being very open, and really listening. Listening is going to be such a huge
Mhm.
part of that as well, but also having a good, I don't want to say treat them like a grown up in a way, but in a sense, this is something that you have to, and kind of say,
Mhm.
oh, this is what you need to do. You need to think and be smart about these
Mhm.
things. And
Yeah. I think one of the things that I'm hearing is, and I'm talking to parents all day long, this week about what do I do? I keep telling them they're safe, but the reality is I don't know if they're safe. And so I really encourage parents to not use the word safe and use the word smart. Anytime we're talking about kids, to the potential dangers of the world, I like to encourage parents to use the word smart, right? We already know what to do. And let's be honest, these schools are already prepared. They know what to do. Unfortunately, this is not. This isn't a new thing, in 2021, and so these schools, they are already doing bad guy drills. A lot of them already have technology in the schools to protect kids and minimize harms. They already have locked doors. They already have communication systems. Our police are already trained in how to respond. And so I think that's really the place to go, is to encourage kids to say, just like when we get in the car, we put our seatbelt on because we're smart. We already know what to do. We already have the doors locked. Bad things can happen in this world, but we don't let that stop us from doing life. So we don't want to be scared. We want to be smart.
I think you touched on something really really good there too, because obviously, depending on the age of the child,
Mhm.
they may fully understand the magnitude of what happened. They
Yep.
may not, but
Yep.
one thing that we can kind of agree on both ages is, they might still be scared and worried about things, but they've already overcame certain things in life that say, hey,
Mhm.
you know what, life is still going to go on. We're still going to move forward, and you're going to
Yep.
get through this.
And it's a really great idea for the kids who are struggling. Don't go any deeper than a kid is already having concerns about it. If a kid says, "I'm good," don't let them just be good. But if they're really, really scared, sometimes what we can do is tie it back to another time when something maybe bad or hard happened in their lives and how they got through that. Sometimes if they've already been maybe in a car accident that ended up being okay, or maybe it wasn't, and yet we still got through it. The flu, we still got through it. We're getting through COVID, and we're still, figuring out how to get through this. And so even when bad things, can happen, we don't let that stop us from doing life. We get smart. We don't get scared. And so tying it back to times when they have been successful because they made good choices, right? Especially like the car accident is the example that comes to mind for me. Why wasn't it worse? Because we were smart enough to put our seatbelt on.
Right.
So kind of just reminding them, like, even if something bad happens, we can get past it. So not to be afraid, but to be smart.
Yeah.
And
And
I think if I just want to say too, Matt, sorry.
no, you're okay.
Um, if you are really, really scared as a parent and you're really struggling, again, I think being smart and being informed, call the school and ask them, what are your policies? What do you have in place? And my guess is that when you do call, they're going to be more than happy to give you that information. They already know. It's like asking a lawyer, what paperwork do I file? Like, they know the answer, so they're happy to give it to you. And they want parents to feel comfortable sending their kids to their building. So I would think, if you're really scared, and having that information, you can also let your kid know. Have you ever noticed this in the school? That's what this is for. We're already, we do tornado drills, not because we think a tornado drill is coming, but just so that we're ready in case it does.
Yeah, 100%. And I'm going to take this a step further, and also say, if you're a parent and you're listening to this,
Mhm,
know that there is also a state opportunity with a program called OK to Say,
mhm.
where if your kids are not aware of it, but it's a confidential way for them to report any kind of um, legal activity, any kind of bullying, and all of that. Also, having a conversation with your children about
Mhm.
bullying and how important it is to not be that person, be a good person, because you know, I can't speak as a generality, we'll say,
Right.
but a lot of these reactions that cause school shootings are sometimes attributed to those bullying actions, and we need to find a way to stop that and be good people. And
Mhm,
that starts with having that open and honest conversation and not having those blinders on that, no way, not my kid. They'll never be like that.
mhm. Yes, all day long on both sides. It's the lack of being able to communicate. It's the lack of being able to communicate in either direction, that I'm hurting, or why I'm hurting, that someone is hurting me, if it's in the case of bullying. The other thing I'll say, Matt, is a lot of times when these things come up, if someone has experienced, been in a situation of shooting, been in a situation of a school shooting, it can bring up old memories that can be really hard to process. And that's a place for therapy all day long, is to kind of reprocess that and put that back away so that that's not coming out. So if you're a parent struggling and you don't seem to be able to be moving past it and that fear keeps coming up, let's deal with it.
Yeah, and you said let's deal with it, and that's a great transition to, if somebody is going through this, you are able
Mhm,
and willing to help people even when they're in the comfort of their own home,
mhm.
and you can do that virtually. Give us a little bit of insight as to, well, a new insight, if you will, as to how we do that.
Yeah, so at New Insights, we have a couple of therapists. We work with kids, couples, adults, trauma, lots of trauma. We're all trauma trained on how to help people heal from those traumas and traumatic experiences. Even sometimes, even Matt, even just hearing the headlines has become traumatic for people. So we have multiple therapists that can fit different people's needs. We're 100% online, Indiana or Michigan. We can work with folks. Give me a call. I'll talk with you. Find out what's going on with you, how you're feeling, and what you're looking for, and get you connected with a therapist that'll be a really good fit to meet your needs.
There you go. And obviously, the number we can call is on the screen, 325-5056. Jacqueline, thank you so much for talking about something that obviously is very much in the focal point of everybody here in Michigan. And just appreciate knowing that we have somebody here who
Mhm.
is ready and willing to help. So thank you.
Absolutely.
There you go. New Insights LLC. That is Therapy Thursdays for you today.